sort of a breaking news segment here, we were talking a little bit about the cost of this and some of the unofficial estimates. The Congressional Budget Office has actually weighed in with a letter saying that a part of it, the loan forgiveness part of it, would cost around $400 billion. And that estimate has gotten a lot of attention. I wonder if you could just address what CBO included in that and what they didn't.
Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned before, the Penn-Wharton budget model had come up with an estimate of about $500 billion. And what CBO is saying is that they think it's about $400 billion. And this refers to the loan forgiveness portion. So the president had a sort of a two-part plan. He's going to allow students with $10,000 in student loan debt or $20,000 in debt if they had received a Pell Grant. Basically, they would just write off that amount. And CBO estimated that about 95% of the student loan population would qualify, and that about 90% of that portion would actually apply for and receive the assistance. It's kind of interesting. The White House was pushing back, saying, well, we don't think participation will be quite that high. And it's sort of odd because, I mean, you know, if the federal government is allowing you to write off $10,000 or $20,000 in student loan debt, I mean, unless they make it incredibly hard for you to qualify or to apply, or they give you, you know, a big runaround and administrative paperwork burden. I mean, it's kind of hard. You wouldn't make a little bit of effort to get $10,000 or $20,000 in loan forgiveness. So, you know, I actually would argue that CBO is a little low on their estimate because, you know, when the government's handing out that kind of debt forgiveness, it seems to me everybody who is eligible would make an effort to apply. But the thing the CBO did not yet do, and they said that they will at some point in the near future release an estimate on the income contingent repayment portion, and that's the issue of you know, student loans going forward. Right now, students have to pay that back at a rate of 10% of their income above 150% of the poverty level, and they have 25 years or 20 years to basically pay that off. The administration is proposing to change the thresholds from 10% to 5%, and the income threshold from 150% of poverty to 225% of poverty. And CBO is still working on that estimate, and to their, you know, to their credit, or to their, you know, recognizing the difficulty there. I mean, you're essentially estimating what future college students, what their earnings are going to be in the future, and that's a very difficult estimate to try to make. So there clearly is a level of imprecision there, but, you know, again, Penn-Wharton had estimated that piece itself could also cost about $450 billion. So, you know, I suspect that CBO will probably be in that neighborhood. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're talking real money between the two components of the president's plan, as well as what he also had been doing the last year or two. And that is allowing students to defer and write off interest that had accrued during the pandemic. That also has a cost, but it's, you know, 10 or 20 billion. It's not 200 or 300 billion. So, but yeah, you know, it's a big package.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive, and you know, the thing that struck me is that there was so much concentration on that 400 billion number, but it doesn't include that second part that you talked about, which could get really expensive.
Equally large.
Yeah.